SLT Mobitel, the connection. SLT Mobitel, the connection.
ලෙන්ගතුකම වැඩි කරගන්න ලව්ජු රුපියල් 50ට අඩු කළා.
මාමේ එන්න අපිට එකක් බොමු.
Tonight, teething problems. Airports to be reopened by the 23rd for tourists. However, SLTDA chief admits to issues in the bio-bubble pilot project. Gearing up for the jab. The cabinet greenlights entering into agreements with COVID-19 vaccine producers under the COVAX facility. Illegal operations. 3 former directors of Swarna Mahal Jewellers Limited arrested for running an unauthorized finance business. Closing the gates. Restrictions on outward remittances on capital transactions extended for another 6 months. All that and much more coming up on First at 9. This Tuesday, the 5th of January 2021.
Nava Sunlight Sakura. Then Dikukal Pavatina Sakura Mal Suandin.
From AdaDerana, this is AdaDerana First at 9. Live from Studio 24 in Colombo.
Good evening and welcome to First at 9. I'm Thamketan. Let's start you off with your local stories. Minister of Tourism Prasanna Ranatunga today had good news for Sri Lanka's millions of people who depend on tourism. He said that the government expects to open the airports for tourists by the 23rd of this month. A pilot project involving tourists from Ukraine is being worked off at present, with multitude of issues arising ranging from discipline to communication, especially with tourists going off itinerary. And today, SLTDA chairperson Kimali Fernando admitted that there were issues with the pilot project and it must be accepted. She added that the SLTDA is powerless in this regard and called on the private sector to ensure that the project is implemented as intended.
මාර්තු 19 වෙනිදා ගුවන්තොටුපොළ වැහුවා. එදා ඉඳන් මේ මාස 10 දක්වා සංචාරකයෝ පැමිණීමක් සිදු වුණේ නැහැ. අපි කල්පනා කරා ඇත්තටම ගිය අවුරුද්දේ ජූනි මාසේ ඉඳන් වැහිච්ච සංචාරක ශේෂ්ත්‍රය නැවත ආරම්භ කරන්න. ඒ සඳහා සංචාරක සංවර්ධන අධිකාරියෙන් යම් ගයිඩ්ලයින් හදලා සෞඛ්‍ය අමාත්‍යාංශයත් එක්ක අපි කතා කරගෙන ගියා. අපි උත්සාහ කරා ජූනි මාසේ කරන්න. නමුත් නොයෙකුත් හේතු මත අපිට කරගන්න බැරි වුණා. විශේෂයෙන්ම කොවිඩ් දෙවෙනි රැල්ල එනකොට ඒවට මුහුණ දෙන්න වුණා. ඊට පස්සේ අපි කල්පනා කරා දෙසැම්බර් මාසේ සාකච්ඡා කරලා ජනවාරි වල මේ රට සංචාරකයන්ට විවෘත කරන්න. මේ වෙනකොට රටවල් 30ක් 40ක් විවෘත කරලා තියෙනවා සංචාරක ව්‍යාපාරයට ලෝකේ. මේ වෙලාවේ හොඳ ඉල්ලුමක් තියෙන අවස්ථාව. ඒ නිසා අපි කල්පනා කරා මේ ලක්ෂ 30ක ජනතාව වෙනුවෙන් මේක තමයි හොඳම අවස්ථාව. ඒ නිසා මේක කඩිනමින් ආරම්භ කරන්න ඕනි කියලා. ඒ අනුව අපි බලාපොරොත්තු වෙනවා ජනවාරි මාසේ 21 වෙනිදාට 21 වෙනිදා ඉඳන් කියලා අපි කියන්නේ අපි බලාපොරොත්තු වෙන 23 වෙනකොට සම්පූර්ණයෙන්ම ගුවන් තොටුපොළ සංචාරකයන්ට විවෘත කරන්න. දැන් ඒ විවෘත කරන්න අපිට හඳුනාගත්ත මූලික ගැටලු විසඳගෙන ඒ සඳහා අපි සම්පූර්ණම සූදානමක් තියෙනවා. එක එක කණ්ඩායම් වලට වගකීම් පවරලා ඒක කරන්න.
Also arise from the Yala incident is that the itinerary was not shared with the SLTDA.
That's true.
What are your comments on that?
No, this is a pilot project.
Yeah.
Okay, so there are mistakes that were made. That's why we call it a pilot project. Otherwise, we will open up the airport. Other countries, there are different rules. Each country, and it's also dynamic. They keep changing the rules because no one in the world knows what really to do. Big Western countries are also trying to figure this out. So yes, the pilot project had issues. We have to accept that. There were coordination issues, I think, more. So people didn't know what their role is. Like a travel agent, whether it's a hotelier, whether it is the tour guide or the driver. I'm appealing to the industry, please work in a way that you all share the information and carry this burden together. The COVID task force helped tremendously, particularly the army and their troops. Even with the transportation, they went with the transportation. They are looking after the beaches so that nobody gets interaction with the local community. But forever we cannot expect the armed forces to help us. So I think that's a better coordination is required. The guideline will now be updated. We are having a meeting with the industry on Monday. With the ambassadors on Monday. We will be going through all the guidelines in detail with them, so we will answer any questions. And it has to be like a teamwork. The baton must pass to the next person, because from the airport, from that point till he comes back, it's our responsibility. So we have to take responsibility, and unfortunately Sri Lanka, the tourist board is not in control. It is the private sector who has to implement it.
Unlike the Ukrainian tourists, those who come after 23rd January, can they just walk about after the 7 days?
14 days.
After 14 days.
Yeah, 14 days.
And they can walk about inside the bubble. Bubble.
After 14 days, if the PCR is negative, they can walk.
It's all depends that even yesterday we had a meeting with the health ministry, and in some other countries, before they come, they take the PCR. And on arrival or after arrival, 5 to 6 days, they take the PCR. After that, like Dubai, they never take the PCR. So we have proposed that. And it's an issue that they have to discuss with the COVID committee and the health. After that, they will instruct us what to do. Then, if they say no, 2 PCR tests are enough, then we will able to keep them.
Safeguard hand sanitizer. නවතම නිෂ්පාදන පෙළ නිරෝගිමත් දිවියකට.
The Cabinet of Ministers, meanwhile, has approved a proposal to enter into agreements with COVID-19 vaccine producers under the COVAX facility. Through this facility, the production and development of the vaccines for COVID-19 are being accelerated, and the eventual reach of the COVID-19 vaccine to every country in the world is ensured. The decision had been made when the Cabinet of Ministers met last evening. The Cabinet of Ministers has given the go-ahead to submit the Part B of the vaccine application according to the guidelines provided by the Attorney General and to sign an agreement with the manufacturer when allocating COVID-19 vaccines through the COVAX facility. The COVAX facility is a global initiative that brings together governments and manufacturers to ensure equal distribution among the countries subsequent to the manufacturing of secure and effective COVID-19 vaccines. Sri Lanka has already joined with the COVAX facility and is accredited as eligible to receive the COVID-19 vaccines through the facility. Countries have to submit vaccine request applications under 2 phases to receive the vaccine facility, and the first part, which included the information regarding the target group, storage capacity and technical information, had to be submitted before the 7th of December last year, which Sri Lanka did. The second part, regarding the receipt of vaccines and signing the compensatory agreement, has to be submitted before the 8th of January 2021. Meanwhile, considering the recommendations submitted by the Tariff Valuation Committee appointed for the formalising of import of goods amidst the suppression caused on the foreign exchange rate due to the prevailing COVID-19 pandemic condition, the Cabinet of Ministers approved the tabling of 2 Gazette notifications published for imposing regulations subject to the Imports and Exports Control Act No. 1 of 1969 to the Parliament for its perusal. The Cabinet also approved the proposal for implementing e-Taksalava online program as the official online learning portal in the schools and other education institutions functioning under the Ministry of Education where general education in Sri Lanka is carried out. In the meantime, it has also been identified that the Sri Lanka Press Council should be structurally reformed and reorganised, covering electronic, print and new media as a tribunal for journalists and media institutions and as a centre that promote media education. The Cabinet of Ministers has also given the go-ahead to the proposal to amend the Act, enabling to increase the number of board members of the Sri Lanka Rupawahini Corporation up to 9 by including a representative of the Treasury and the Secretary to the Line Ministry in charge of the subject or a representative of that ministry appointed by him. The proposal to set up a smart one-stop shop comprising the representatives of all relevant institutions to enable local and foreign investors interested in investing in industrial zones associated with the Hambantota port and industries in the southern province was also approved. Now then, government and opposition members clashed in Parliament today over the decision to reopen the country for tourism, with the opposition citing a letter from SLTDA chairperson Kimali Fernando as evidence of a lack of system in the travel bubble project. However, government members stated that the objective of the project is to provide relief to tourism operators who have been unable to make ends meet for the past 9 months. They added that with the airport set to open, this will open the doors to repatriate all Sri Lankans aboard available commercial flights.
කරපු නැති නමුත් වැදගත්ම දෙයක් තමයි අපේ විපක්ෂ නායකතුමා කිව්වා වාගේ ප්‍රවෘත්ති වලටත් පෙන්වුවා මම දැක්කා එක කාන්තාවක් අඬනවා කියනවා ඒගොල්ලන් හිර වෙලා ඉන්නවා මේ මං හිතන්නේ ඔමාන් රටේ උන් පිළිබඳව කිසිම අවධානයක් යොමු කරන්නේ නැති පාට
ඊයේ පෙරේදා ප්‍රවෘත්ති සාකච්ඡාවක් තියලා කිව්වා මේ සංචාරකයෝ ගේන එක දින 14ක් තියන්න ඕනේ කියලා ඔබතුමා ලෝකය ගැන දන්නවා ගෝලීයකරණය ගැන දන්නවා සංචාරකයෝ ලංකාවට පෞගේ ඉතිහාසය පුරා ආරම්භ බැලුවොත් සංචාරකයෝ ඇවිල්ලා තියෙන්නේ දින 10යි 12යි 14යි සංචාරකයන්ට පිස්සුවක් නැහැ දින 14 රූම් එකට එලා යන්න. ඒ නිසා සංචාරක ව්‍යාපාරයේ නියුතු ලක්ෂ 30ක් ජනතාව මාස 9ක් තිස්සේ එදිනදා කටයුතු කරගන්න බැරුව ඉන්නවා. ඒ නිසා තමයි රජය නියම ව්‍යාප්තියක් විදිහට උත්සාහ කරන්නේ මේක ජනවාරි මාසේ මේ ගුවන්තොටුපළ
Honorable member, you have 2 more minutes.
ලංකාවේ පිටරට ශ්‍රී ලාංකිකයන්ව ඕන වාණිජ ගුවන් යානයකින් ගේන්න පුළුවන්ද කියන එක බලන්න. මේ අපේ ඉන්නවනේ සමහර සභාපතිවරු මේ ඔත්තු දෙන අය. සභාපතිතුමිය හිටියා මීටින් වල. එතුමියට දන්නේ නැහැ කියන්න බෑ.
එතුමිය ලිපියක් ඉදිරිපත් කරලා තියෙනවා එතුමිය දැනගෙන හිටියේ නැහැ කියලා.
එතුමාගේ අදහසයි කිමාලියේ අදහසයි එකම සමානයි. මොකද්ද? අර්ශ ඇමතුමා කියන්නේ KPMG එකකට දාන්න කියලා. කිමාලි කියන්නේත් ඒක. අපි පෙනී හිටින්නේ මේ ඕටල් 84ක් වෙනුවෙන් නෙමෙයි. අපි පෙනී හිටින්නේ මේ රටේ සමස්ත ලියාපදිංචි ඕටල් 2484ක් සහ ලියාපදිංචි ඕටල් 5000 තියෙනවා. ඒ සියලු දෙනා සඳහා මේක දොර විවර වෙන්න ඕනේ. හැබැයි කිමාලි කියන්නේ එක පැලැන්තියකට. එක පැලැන්තියකට මේක විවෘත වෙන්න ඕනේ කියලා. ඔබතුමාත් කියන්නේ මොකද්ද?
යුක්‍රේනය කියන්නේ මොකද්ද රට? යුක්‍රේනයේ 11 ලක්ෂයක් මේ කොරෝනා හැදිලා ඉන්නවා. දැනටමත් 19000ක් මැරිලා තියෙනවා. අපේ ඒක පුද්ගල ආදායමකට වඩා අඩුයි. කොරෝනා ඒ යුක්‍රේනයේ අයට රස්සා නැතුව ජර්මනියේ එංගලන්තයට ගිහිල්ලා අර පාරවල් ඇතුලේ බස් වල ගිහිල්ලා පික් පොකට් ගහනවා නිදා ගන්න තැනක් නැතුව රස්සා නැතුව ආර්ථිකය වැටලා ඒ හිඟන යුක්‍රේනයෙන් තමයි මේ උදයන්ගේ විරුතුංග ලංකාවට දැන් 456ක් විදේශිකයෝ ගෙන්නනවා. ඒ ගෙනාපු කට්ටිය නිරෝධායන නීති උල්ලංඝනය කරලා දැන් හැසිරිච්ච ඇටි මුළු රටම දැක්කා.
අපේ සංචාරක අරමුදලෙන් මේ ශ්‍රේෂ්ඨයේ ඉන්න 3500කට ආධාර ලබා දුන්නා. හැබැයි මේක පවත්වාගෙන යන්න නම් මේ අය සමාජීය වශයෙන් නැගිටන්න නම් මේ සංචාරක ව්‍යාපාරය ආරම්භ කරන්න ඕනි. ඒ සඳහා ඉලක්ක කරගෙන තමයි අපි ජනවාරි 21 වෙනිදා අනිවාර්යයෙන්ම සංචාරකයන්ට ගුවන්තොටුපළ විවෘත කරන්න බලාපොරොත්තු වෙන අපි අද කටයුතු කරගෙන යනවා.
Now, people who do not wear face masks in public will be arrested and be forced to take a PCR test or a rapid antigen test. Just after the police announced the move today, it was revealed that 2 persons from a group of 20 individuals arrested from PETA for not wearing face masks had tested COVID-19 positive.
During the course of yesterday, 468 infections were confirmed from 22 districts across the island. Colombo, as usual, recorded the highest with 183 cases, while Kandy reported 73 infections. A further 72 infections were detected from Gampaha, 28 from Kurunagala, 19 from Polonnaruwa, and 12 infections each from Gaul and Hambantota, and 11 from Karutara yesterday. In addition, 10 infections were confirmed from Matara, 8 from Trincomalee, 7 infections each from Ampara and Nuwara Elia, and 6 cases each from Batiklo and Jaffna were also recorded yesterday. What's more, 3 infections were identified from Anuradhapura, while 2 infections each were detected from Kegol, Monragala and Vavuniya. The districts of Ratnapura, Puttalam, Matale and Mullaitivu reported 1 infection each during the course of yesterday. Since the first outbreak of COVID-19 began in the country, health officials along with the law enforcement authorities urged people to adhere to safety protocols in order to avoid any spread of the virus, especially when they are out in public. With that being the case, it was observed how people behaved irresponsibly in public, neglecting the safety protocols such as wearing masks. Since the second wave began in October, the police have arrested around 2,172 people for neglecting safety protocols. Furthermore, the police during search operations today took steps to arrest and prosecute such people who do not wear face masks and subjected them to PCR or rapid antigen testing.
අද දිනේ සිට තීරණයක් ගෙන තිබෙනවා මුහුණු ආවරණ නොපළඳින පුද්ගලයන් අත්අඩංගුවට ගැනීමට අමතරව උන්ට නඩු පැවරීමට අමතරව ඔවුන් සඳහා PCR හෝ ඇන්ටිජන් පරීක්ෂණ සිදු කිරීමට. එයට හේතුව ඔවුන් අනාරක්ෂිතව සිටින බැවින් ඔවුන්ට රෝගය ආසාදනය වෙන්න පුළුවන්. ඒ වගේම එයින් තව කෙනෙකුට බෝ වෙන්න පුළුවන්.
In more news, police apprehended 20 people for not wearing face masks during an operation that was worked off today in PETA. All of them were then subjected to rapid antigen tests, which revealed 2 persons to be COVID-19 positive. In another development, steps were taken by the National Operations Centre for the Prevention of COVID-19 to isolate St Andrews Place, Upper St Andrews Place and Lower St Andrews Place, which comes under the Modera police area this morning, until further notice due to a spike in COVID-19 infections. As there are concerns growing in Sri Lanka pertaining to a COVID-19 vaccine, Chief Advisor to the President Lalit Weeratunga estimates that COVID-19 inoculations in Sri Lanka will start by late February or by the beginning of March this year. In other developments, the total number of COVID-19 related recoveries spiked to 38,262, with 445 patients being discharged from hospitals upon full recoveries. With that, the total number of active coronavirus cases in the country now stands at 6,989.
We will see you shortly on the other side of this break. Stay with us.
Ceylon Bank, the bank with a heart.
Welcome back. You're watching First at 9. Now, the Committee on Public Enterprises is scheduled to summon several government institutions before it in January. COPE Chairman Professor Charita Herath says that the Independent Television Network, the ITN, the Mahapola Higher Education Scholarship Fund, the Ceylon Petroleum Corporation and the Coconut Development Authority are to be summoned before the committee. He added that meetings are set to be held on the 6th, 8th, 19th and the 21st of January in accordance with the COVID-19 health guidelines. The officials of the Independent Television Network will be summoned before the COPE tomorrow, while the Special Audit Report on Management of Investment of the Mahapola Higher Education Scholarship Fund will be discussed on the 8th. The Special Audit Report on the Storage and Distribution of Petroleum in Sri Lanka is to be discussed on the 19th, and the Audit Report on the Coconut Development Authority is to be taken up on the 21st of January. The Attorney General today directed the Criminal Investigation Department to arrest and produce before court the former directors of Swarna Mahal Jewellers Limited on charges of running an unauthorised finance business. Thus, the CID arrested former directors Jeevaka Edirisinghe, Anjali Edirisinghe and Asanka Edirisinghe this evening. Earlier, the Attorney General directed the Inspector General of Police to conduct a criminal investigation against the directors of the ETI Finance and Swarna Mahal Jewellers. Coordinating Officer of the Attorney General, State Counsel Nishara Jayaratna said that the investigations will be carried out over the unauthorised acceptance of deposits worth 13.7 billion rupees, misappropriation and money laundering. Now, India's Minister of External Affairs, Dr. S. Jaishankar, arrived in Sri Lanka this evening on an invitation extended by Foreign Minister Dinesh Gunawardena. Dr. Jaishankar's official visit to the island will continue until the 7th of January. During his visit, he is expected to have bilateral meetings with President Gotabaya Rajapaksa, Prime Minister Mahinda Rajapaksa and his Sri Lankan counterpart, Minister Gunawardena. While this official visit marks the first arrival of a high-level foreign dignitary in Sri Lanka in 2021, it has also become the earliest official visit for Dr. Jaishankar in the new year outside India. The visiting External Affairs Minister's visit is arranged through the air bubble concept amidst COVID-19 travel restrictions in both countries. Now, in other local stories, police have arrested 4 suspects pertaining to the murder of chief incumbent of Kondikanda Aranya Senasana in Tummodara, Venerable Uduwela Dhammasiri Thera. The Thera's burning body was found by the police yesterday from the public cemetery of Nawana in Kotadenyawa. The Thera had been abducted by an armed group of about 10 persons on the 2nd of January. Preliminary investigations launched by the police have revealed that an argument had taken place between the late Thera and the mother of a Navas monk at the temple. The police said that an armed group, including the Navas monk's mother and her paramour, attacked the late Thera at the temple and abducted him. They had taken the Thera to a house in Kadawatha, and the Thera had passed away under heavy assault from the Navas monk's mother and her paramour. The police added that the body of the Thera had been set on fire at the Nawana public cemetery during the early hours of yesterday. Meanwhile, a father of the Navas monk surrendered to the Hangwala police with the van suspected to have been used in the abduction. Following investigations, the Navas monk's mother and her paramour were arrested yesterday on suspicion of committing the murder. We will see you shortly. Bear with us. Welcome back. This is First at 9. Now, restrictions on outward remittances on capital transactions have been extended for a further 6 months until the 1st of July. The move had been approved, or move had been made, I should say, upon the recommendations by the Monetary Board of the Central Bank, with effect from the 2nd of January this year. You can find more details on the restrictions on the Central Bank's website, www.cbsl.lk. Now, Central Bank Governor Professor W.D. Lakshman announced that the government and the bank will be looking to facilitate the formation of a mega national development bank through the merger of 3 state banks. The banks to be merged are the State Mortgage and Investment Bank, the Housing Development and Finance Corporation, and the Regional Development Bank. Further, the governor revealed that he expects a positive outcome from ongoing discussions with online payment provider PayPal to open up payment receipts for local vendors and businesses.
At the unveiling of the Central Bank's Roadmap 2021 policy document, the bank's governor, Professor W.D. Lakshman, revealed a host of new developments in the financial sector. While urging banks to pass on the benefits of previous support measures last year, the central bank governor revealed that the Monetary Authority will consider further regulatory benefits along with the review of the Banking Act this year.
Various forms of support and relaxations of rules extended to the banking sector and the financial system during 2020 were aimed at safeguarding the financial system on the one hand and facilitating a faster economic recovery on the other. Licensed banks and other financial institutions are therefore urged to pass on the benefits of these relaxations to their customers, fostering a conducive financial environment for businesses and individuals, thus enabling a faster recovery of economic activity in a mutually beneficial economic environment. The financial sector ought to develop a new business model, taking into consideration the background conditions of the new normal, and must become more customer-centric. In addition, in 2021, the central bank will consider providing other regulatory relaxations to banks where possible. The central bank also expects to review the Banking Act during the year. Large commercial banks will be encouraged to continue looking into avenues of expanding into regional markets. Further, the central bank will continue to facilitate the market-driven consolidation process, enabling small and medium-sized banks to merge with other banks.
Meanwhile, Professor Lakshman also announced the merger of 3 state banks into the proposed National Development Bank and revealed further legal frameworks in the pipeline covering unregulated money lending and a new microfinance and credit authority.
In the period ahead, the central bank will work closely with the government in facilitating the establishment of the proposed National Development Banking Corporation by merging the State Mortgage and Investment Bank, the Housing Development Finance Corporation, and Pradeshiya Sangwardhana Bank, enabling a new era of development banking. Directions were issued to LFCs and SLCs to provide relief measures to businesses and individuals affected by COVID-19. Guidelines were provided for the implementation of a special credit support scheme for SME borrowers.
In addition, the central bank governor stated that the government will look to restructure the non-bank financial institution sector as a national priority.
The need to strengthen the non-bank financial institution sector has been well recognized by the government and the central bank as well as the general public. Therefore, the restructuring of this sector will be pursued as a national priority in earnest. Enactment of a legal framework to regulate unregulated money lending activities, thereby creating a better and more effective regulatory environment for money lending institutions, is of utmost importance. For this purpose, the Monetary Board has approved the draft of a Microfinance and Credit Regulatory Authority Act. The Cabinet approval for this is awaited.
In long-awaited good news for local online vendors and entrepreneurs, the central bank governor also revealed that discussions have already taken place with online payment provider PayPal to permit payment receipt facilities into Sri Lanka.
The central bank is actively seeking possibilities to develop and promote other forms of payment mechanisms to attract capital flows and to enable e-commerce. thus facilitating cross-border trade. The central bank has already commenced discussions with international payment service providers, PayPal, to enable payment receipt facilities for Sri Lankan residents, and we expect positive outcomes in the near future.
Now, the Monetary Board of the Central Bank has decided to extend the suspension of Perpetual Treasuries Limited from carrying on the business and activities of a primary dealer for a further period of 6 months. The decision is effective from 4:30 p.m. today. The CBSL said that the suspension was extended in order to continue the investigations being conducted by the Central Bank of Sri Lanka. Perpetual Treasuries Limited is at the centre of what is now known as the Central Bank bond scam. Now, taking a look at the Colombo Bourse, the all-share price index gained 83.88 points to close at 6,978.86, while the S&P SL 20 index of more liquid stocks gained 21.20 points to close at 2,708.65. Meanwhile, market turnover was 6.1 billion rupees, where 129 stocks gained and 66 fell. Further, the market has another reason to celebrate as the market capitalization exceeded the 3 trillion rupee benchmark. Now, here's a brief report on the market performance.
The bull run in the stock market continues for the 6th consecutive day as the market today touched about 83-point gain, with the ASPI actually crossing the 7,000 mark during intraday, however closing slightly below that 6,978 points. There's a significant buying interest coming mainly out of the retail community, so the retail segment of the investors have actually completely dominated the market now. Today we saw the turnover levels exceeding 6 billion mark, a feat that we've seen previously only in January 2020. We've achieved another feat today where the market capitalization of the stock market exceeded 3 trillion rupees. Last time we've actually seen this was in 2018, 28th of May to be exact, in 2018. So after 2.5 years, we are again seeing the market exceeding this amount, and also now the investors are starting to move into blue chip counters, so we are seeing high level of activity coming out of the blue chip counters as well.
The Sri Lankan rupee, meanwhile, closed weaker around 192 rupees and 192 rupees to 50 cents to the US dollar today. However, the rupee closed at the levels of 191 rupees to 193 rupees yesterday. Now, let's take a look at how the rupee traded against other major currencies during the day. Sri Lanka suffered a whitewash in the 2-test series at the hands of South Africa today, with the Proteas romping to a 10-wicket victory before tea. Just as it was with the first test, the match was over with 2 full days of play left. And that's it from all of us here at First at 9. Thanks for watching. Bye-bye.